when you're on your deathbed,
Yes.
you don't have anything to take with you, just your memories.
Yes.
And you can think about like what I have done for my life, and I don't want myself to regret anything. Think of like all the material stuff, you can really take that with you. All you can take is your memories. Like maybe 10 years later, I will have a successful brand, but if I don't start right now, when am I ever gonna have that? And I had another look, which is the pajama piece, and with like the model going on the runway, like carrying a bottle of champagne and a champagne flute. And she was presenting a lifestyle, like it's okay to walk the runway drunk. And then at some point, especially after like entrepreneurship hits me, and I was like, I want to do something that I really passionate and good at. So we had this huge celebration ceremony in Mongolia, and after seeing all that fashion from another very different culture, I was like, I need to use this in my own collection. Yeah.
Very cool.
That was a live event I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life.
Sublime Podcast.
Common interests, which
Piper,
is
I'm
great.
so sorry, we have to start again.
Okay.
I wasn't recording any of this.
Okay.
Take 3, Sublime Podcast for you guys. And today I have someone really interesting and fashion rock star. And you say you're a fashion curator as well?
Fashion curator, fashion buyer, designer, entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Yes.
and a person who has even cooler than my grandma's sense of fashion, Pyper Cali with us.
Thank you for having me.
Pyper, 4 different towns you can call your home.
Mm-hmm.
And in San Francisco, you're here because of the family reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But you are home based more in New York, as far as I understand.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles,
Yeah,
okay.
Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
And then I spent a lot of time in New York for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so out of San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York was the 4th place.
London.
London, of course, London. So which one is which one you would spend your whole life at? Which one?
Wow.
Yeah, you can say the party place. Which one has the best weather, and which one
Oh
just
my
sucks?
God,
Yeah.
that's $1 million
Give me
question.
labels.
Yes. So deep down in my heart, I love New York. But I just feel like it's a city for people like who are really tough inside out, right? So I really appreciate like all the things New York has to offer, but I don't think I can live there like forever. Like maybe for a few years, and then I need
Why?
to escape.
Why?
It's just because sometimes I feel like I suffer no matter what in New York. It's just like it's so packed, and the city is
Yes.
so crowded,
Very busy.
and so many people fighting for resources. Sometimes I just want a place of my own and just to clear my mind, not to get myself surrounded by so many people. And you always suffer when you take the subway, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I feel like California is probably where I see myself settle down. And long term, I want to live here. And with that being said, Los Angeles is probably the best choice for me, just because the weather, like, of course it's the weather, right?
Yeah.
So that's the top one reason why everybody's here. And then I feel like the space is really important too. And LA has that too. The space, the weather, and a sense of fashion.
Yep.
I feel like the fashion scene in Los Angeles is definitely not as promising as New York at this moment, but it's up and coming, and I've been seeing a lot of designers, they're trying very hard to bring their stuff out, and this town is like famous for streetwear, and a lot of brands, well-known brands, streetwear brands are actually coming from LA.
Yep.
So I feel like it is definitely up and coming. Yeah, but there isn't a fashion week, like official fashion week in LA so far. So I really like, deep down in my heart, I hope LA can be the city for another official fashion week that's like, known nationwide, or maybe by people from all over the world, and they just know LA for its fashion. Yeah, so that would be like my dream to see that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned lots of different things. Weather in LA. Okay, so why not
Yes.
San Diego in this case?
I just feel like to me, San Diego is a little bit small, but like different people, different
Yes.
opinions, right?
Definitely small, for
I
sure.
know a lot of people, they love San Diego. And they would live there forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really like San Diego for like vacations, a nice weekend vacation, but probably not for like living there. Yeah. I'm a city girl, so I really appreciate
Yeah.
like LA is a big city and it does have a lot of good offerings. And I just feel like whatever that comes out the first, and LA gets it first. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Specifics of LA though, is you have to drive everywhere, and you spend a
Yeah.
substantial amount, half of your lifetime in traffic.
I
because
know a
of
lot
that.
of
That's
people
why I
say
moved
that.
away. Yes.
Yeah, but for me, it's like I listen to my music when I'm driving, right? So
Okay.
it doesn't really matter because like if I'm like sitting home alone, I still listen to my music and spending time on listening to my music. So I just feel like why don't I just use that time like when I'm driving my car? So it's like the same. I spend a lot of my time listening to music. I inspired. I just love music. So I just feel like that part is like I'm okay with. Yeah. Sitting in the traffic, listening to my music. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that explains clearly if you have something to do as you drive. then
Exactly,
it makes
yeah.
a lot of sense. Okay. Now you also mentioned LA Fashion Week. There is LA Fashion Week. At least a lot of models who come to my events. They
There
also
is
go to
one.
LA.
Yeah. I think it's by iHeart Foundation. And
like the radio.
actually, it's a different one. It's a different one. So I think they're a foundation doing like runways and other stuff. And I've been to their show, and I've seen them trying, but like it's definitely not at the level of New York and Milan and Paris.
Oh yeah, 100%. There are
Yeah.
not so many towns which can compare or even rival.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good that they have that, like giving all the designers a stage. Yeah. But I feel like the event itself feels more like a party than an actual runway. Yeah. So it's like a lot of elements. And there's an after party, and there are lounges, and there are like cool artists doing a lot of stuff. So I do feel like it's a holistic event instead of a runway. Yeah.
Would you say that this is more of city culture? Like specifically LA is a lot about like chilling, vibing, partying, enjoying life.
Oh, it's definitely
and so
a
on,
party
right?
town.
So,
But let's be honest, like LA does very good parties.
of course.
Like, yeah, like it's the entertainment capital, right? So I feel like a lot of the places I've been, it's just the party scenes cannot compete with LA. That's one of the reasons why I love LA so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think California knows how to party.
Yeah, for sure.
Tupac, right? I think it was.
Yeah.
Was about LA, California, the southern California,
Southern
not the
California.
northern, right?
Northern
Yeah.
is all about making money and like get busy and
That's right. Get busy.
yeah,
yes.
get busy, make money, and like the tech culture and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. You're saying that there's also London. So London for you is like a place to learn from,
Yes.
to go to kind of travel. Like what's your inspiration from London?
So London is like my hub when I need to spend time in Europe, right? Because like I can just fly to any countries in Europe and stay in London and go to other countries like next week on the weekends, whatever. I just feel like London and all these European countries, they have a lot to offer as for like design,
Yeah.
aesthetics. So that's the place where I get inspired by culture, history, and also by just like the aesthetics designs in general. So I definitely want to spend more time in Europe starting from next year so I can really focus on my creation. Yeah.
If you were to choose a place in Europe where you can live forever and you have unlimited money, but you cannot leave this place at all. Like it's kind of prison, but it's you have unlimited
It's
money.
hard, but my first pick probably would be Spain, just because I love Spanish food so much.
Yeah.
Thinking of if you can't ever like escape a place, you have to at least satisfy your stomach, right? So with like Spanish food being my favorite cuisine, so I'll probably pick Spain.
Okay, Spanish food. would you say that Spanish food in Spain is very different from Spanish, what's called Spanish food somewhere here, and even in different state?
It's not like completely different. Like the style is very similar, like sangria, tapas. But I feel like here it's like modified versions.
Right.
But in Spain, it's more like, oh, it's just on the counter. You just pick whatever. And sometimes we just stand at the bar and eat our tapas. But here it's more like sitting down, dinner style. And especially like in LA, I know a lot, even San Diego, I know a lot of like good Spanish restaurants. They pay extra attention to the decor, to the ambience. So that's nice, but it's like very different from just your everyday go-to places in Spain. Yeah.
I love it. Very interesting perspective on different towns. And of course, Milan would have really good fashion scene.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
I guess this area, Southern Europe.
Yes.
Yeah, totally understandable.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, let's actually go to the beginning. Like, where did you start?
Perfect.
So as you were a kid, your parents brought you over.
Yes.
To this country. Do you know like the motivation for them? They were thinking about giving you a different life, or was it something else?
Actually, I lived in many, many different countries before I came here to the US. And I spent a good amount of time in Japan and Singapore and like later in life, Mexico and UK. So I just feel like it's just our whole family is like immersed in this global citizen culture.
Yep.
And I grew up in that. And now I really embrace that. That's part of me. And that's like who I am. I'm a global citizen. I'm not like a citizen of a specific country, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. And then you thought you were going to become like a marketing specialist. You went to business school.
Well, actually, that wasn't my initial goal. So when I was little, I always wanted to work in production. So that's actually what I did first, coming out of school.
Film, television?
Yes,
what kind of
like television, like I can be like a broadcaster for TV, or I can be a politician. So I always wanted to do something like that. And then later in life, like after I graduated, I actually worked in TV production for a while, for a good amount of time. I tried that, and then I switched my path to advertising. And then after that to marketing for tech companies. And of course, like tech companies focusing on entertainment, like live streaming, e-commerce, and also like social media. So I just feel like this is more sustainable for me. Like I can see a clear career path. And then like it all started from 2 years ago, and I just feel like there is a strike in me, like it's entrepreneurship, like I have to be an entrepreneur. So I started my own company in multi-channel network, which is like social media managing, like influencer managing, and collaborating with a lot of e-com brand. And at some point I just started my own brand. So I just feel like all these experiences and combining with my path in marketing, it makes sense.
It does, yes. So before we jump into your business success, so let's. There are a couple of things which I think are worth spotlighting from your time before.
Sounds great.
So one of them is you've had plenty of marketing internship opportunities.
Yes.
So I think you worked for like larger companies in technology specifically.
Yes.
And that kind of gave you the foundation. The ground for starting your own things, because you learned how to market and how to acquire necessary capital.
Exactly. Yeah.
But also because you were in TV production, you've interned for Academy of Television Arts and Sciences.
Yes.
This is the place which is Emmy. Yeah, I'm going to the place which is Emmy. Yes, Emmy Award. So, can you talk a bit more about like what's how it is to actually, because I think you told me you got an Emmy.
Yeah. So it was a television show,
Yes.
and the category was unscripted. Yeah.
The most unscripted category. Yes.
Yes.
I say the most unscripted, basically total chaos.
Yes.
Yeah, and nobody can predict. And you've been on the both sides. So I guess you kind of are familiar with the process for
Yes.
selecting, for nominations and then applying criteria. And also you were able to get to the point where you received the award. So can you tell a bit more about how it works? Like what criteria are being used? Like say if I am up and coming like show producer, right? And I have a script and I have maybe a budget to produce. What would I do differently if I want to shoot for the stars and hope I can get an Emmy with the show?
I feel like at some point you just really need a professional award submission team for yourself because it's a whole process. I've seen people preparing for years and putting together the submission materials and choosing the categories. Of course, you can select a few categories. It's just a whole lot of work and it's a big process. So you definitely need somebody professional to help you go through the award submission process. And also there are a lot of picking from the academy side. So for the big category, like prime time and all that. So I just feel like it's just not like a one-person job. You definitely need a team to focus on that. And I remember back then we had a award submission team for the show we produced, and it was like the season 3 that got the nomination. So it was a lot of teamwork. Yeah.
Season 3, so obviously you've done the two first seasons. They obviously sucked because the only third one got the award.
Not really. I feel like it's more like, season 3 really matured, from 100%. The past experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and because I do production myself for other people as part of my acting school, as well as my podcast is also in production, and usually there's pilot, the very first one where you just try grounds and you see, hey, does this even make sense? Do I feel like doing more of it? And then you do season 1. And after this, you kind of trying to take this thing and sell it to more people. So you secure the budgeting for season 2. Season 3 means you've succeeded in season 2. Of course, so great job there for sure. Have you done more seasons after?
Yes, but I wasn't part of that because I graduated and then I moved into advertising because I was so affected by this show, Mad Men. I believe it's so popular. I believe at this point everybody has watched that show. So it's about Madison Avenue and this advertising world. So I was so affected by that show. I was I need to work in advertising. So I just did that. Yeah.
Cool. And you went into advertising, advertising part of marketing, or the other way around. I don't know. Yeah,
it's different, but advertising is more I was involved in a lot of creation process for campaigns. So I was working for a lot of beauty brands and fashion brands. That's how I got into this. So I was working for Estee Lauder for a long time. They were our client, and then Tom Ford Beauty and Essence, just a lot of the fashion e-com beauty brands. I worked on their advertising campaigns. So that was a really, really creative process to go through. That's when I discovered that no matter what I'm doing, it has to be creative industry. Yeah,
100%. And in general, it's more aligning to your strengths, where you feel excited what you do and you're willing to grow there.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite phrases here is, the person who likes walking will go further than the person who likes the destination. You see, so even though there are ways to get, so imagine your goal is to make a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
There are ways to go and get money. But if you're going to hate yourself as you're getting there, you probably will not be as successful as
exactly. You have to do what you're good at. Yeah.
Good at and you enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
It gives you energy. It gives you power to continue. Yeah, I love it. So and you mentioned Estee Lauder and Tom Ford. So how does it work with brands of this caliber? Do they have a lot of screening process to even talk to you? I'm trying to reflect on my experience working with brands of different size, and the bigger is the brand, the more there's paperwork, the more just like review, the more kind of like selling you need to do, explain what where you are aligned and so on, and then those brands are at the very top. Look, so how did you feel like working with them? Were the people like very like open-minded to your suggestions, to your creative side, or did you have to do like explanation and maybe extra selling?
It really depends on the campaign. So if it's like a campaign we created, like our goal is to win an award, then we have to be super creative and be out there, right? If it's to drive sales, then it's more like we need to stick on certain marketing plans and be able to achieve our goals and like achieve our KPIs. So it really depends on different types of campaigns. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say the majority of the brands I worked in advertising, all of them, they have a yearly budget and it's very decent. That's why we can do a lot of creative ideation, and also we can actually put the money in the market to do media buy and social media buy. So that's the most important part for campaign success. Yeah.
And you were part of a marketing company, I guess. So like a bigger maybe agency.
Yes.
So like fast forward into like now when you run your own business, would you say that all of that you learned working for a bigger agency and working with bigger clients allows you to pull off what you can do right now?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I feel like my path is very diverse. I worked in production, advertising, marketing, and I worked with influencers, and now I got here, right? So what I have is I have the sales channel, I have the marketing channel, and the only thing I'm lacking is the brand. I need to bring in the brand or create my own brand. So that's what I'm doing right now. But a lot of the brands in the market, they are more like they had this idea, they had all these designs, and then they're doing the manufacturing and or merchandising. And then at some point, they start to get their clients and get their customers, and then they put money into marketing, and they collaborate with influencers to market their product. So for me, it's the other way around. So I had all that, and then now all I need is the brand. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
I love it, and let's actually dive deeper. So I want to understand it for myself, and I think for our audience, what will be also very interesting to understand. So when you say that you had a channel for marketing and channel for sales, this channel was coming from your past work and past relationships.
Yes.
Like how, like, and this is just my understanding. In my agencies are usually very jealous about other companies talking to their clients because, well, there's competition, and if a different agency gives something better, then you lost the sale, right? So when you say that you were able to bring the channels from your past work, like were your previous employers fine with you talking to their customers, or like how did it work?
No, those are not from my previous employer. So I actually started my own company 2 years ago in multi-channel network, which is a network of influencers, and that's our sales and marketing channel.
Oh.
Yes. So we already have that. Now we just need the product. Like thinking of starting your own TikTok shop, you need to have a product, put it on TikTok shop, and then have influencers do the marketing, right? So we have actually done the second step and third step already. Now we are just creating our own brand because we need the actual product to sell, if that makes sense.
It does, and that explains my earlier questions.
Yeah, because like before like I started my entrepreneurship journey, and before I was working for other people, I was mainly on the business side.
Yep.
So I don't really sell my own product. I just bring in other people's products. Yeah.
And when you created a community of influencers, a network of influencers, so
it's more like an agency, not a community. Yeah, because we manage them. Yeah.
So you've been managing influencers. You were finding them gigs, right? Such that they can make some extra money by advertising.
Yes, it's basically like a company you hire employees. Yeah.
And influencers were the employees.
Yes, yes.
Very cool. Wow, very cool. Love it. Yeah, in this case, if you have the channel to sell, then you can probably sell whatever, right?
Yes, that's why I don't just have the fashion brand. I have a wine label, and I have home goods, and I have other stuff. So this is more like we're going to test the water and see which one flies. And because I'm just so passionate about fashion, that's why I focus a lot of my energy and time on this fashion brand. Yeah.
Very cool. And you answered my question. So you have 3 technically companies. I don't know how they are legally formed, but there are 3 separate brands. The Maison Cali, which is your fashion brand. Casa Cali, which is, I think is your collection of other brands. And then there is Cali Global Foundation, which is...
I'll explain a little bit.
Yeah.
So Cali Global Foundation is where we source the fund. And this is a nonprofit, but it's also a private foundation. And then we focus on a lot of the nonprofit works too, to boost the arts and science community. And Casa Cali is actually a private members club. So we do a lot of hospitality stuff like events, and the wine label belongs to Casa Cali. And now Maison Cali is our e-commerce platform, our retailer. So it's basically like Farfetch and Essence. We are a platform that sells a lot of designer brands, and my brand, which is like the creation from Maison Cali, is one of the designer brands under this whole platform. And we carry other designers and luxury brand stuff too. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's amazing. You mentioned TikTok. So would you say that TikTok is the primary social media tool for influencers?
For other brands, but not for my brand, because just because the overall brand image we have for this brand is not, it's more like an upscale brand. So we decided to build our own website, have our own shops to sell the product. But for all the brands I worked before, like I brought them into the influencer agency. Those are like the brands we sell on TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, you still mention TikTok a lot. So I'm trying to see if there is a place for other social media platforms. Well, Instagram, YouTube.
Yes.
We have Pinterest. We have Snapchat is more of a like stories kind of thing. I don't know if they have shops, but I've heard that Snapchat now has ads. So they're kind of trying to monetize on the engagement. And there are also a bunch of up and coming. There is like all kinds of clones of Twitter. That's textual. It's not really like about products and fashion. There's an answer to YouTube, Rumble. I think it's a Canadian company. So they're trying to do the same, but without any kind of censorship.
Yes.
I don't know how far they are from launching ads and shop there. So would you say that still TikTok is the biggest mechanism to distribute, to reach the audience for you, or like do you manage different channels at the same time?
It really depends on like what kind of product I'm selling. If my target audience, they're on TikTok, obviously I'm going to use TikTok. But if they're on Instagram, the Instagram shop is probably the best. So it really depends on what kind of product you're selling and to whom.
Yeah.
And then you find your social media channel. Like if the target audience is not even on the social media you're using, then what's the point, right? So that's why we use different social media, their e-com functions for different brands, and different products.
And how do you do the research about where the target audience is? Is it primarily by age or?
It's a holistic process. Like, you have focus group and you do the marketing research. And sometimes we hire agencies to do the research for us. So it's a holistic process on how we do research. And we bring in the marketing research competitor analysis first. And then we decide. Yeah, so it's partially our research. It's part of our research for the media buy team. Yeah.
All right. So okay, now I see. So basically, you don't really know which of the platforms has more of your target audience until you look at all the other brands that perform.
You kind of know because of the brand's image, right? So like if it's an upscale brand, you don't just sell the brand from the beginning on TikTok Shop. It's like common sense.
Yeah.
And then you dig into the marketing research part. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I've listened to a podcast with Adam Mosseri, who is the head of Instagram, and he was saying that Instagram doesn't really do much for established brands.
It's really just like marketing, and you have all the stuff there. But I think a lot of their sales just come from like their loyalty programs and also like their own website. Like it drives a lot of sales because the brand reputation is already there. Yeah.
Yeah, but my point is that TikTok specifically. So let's use TikTok because you're so knowledgeable about this tool. TikTok specifically is very good at finding those content creators. It's just regular people. You don't have to be like a production company, right? You don't need to have all the budget for all the high quality, but finding those smaller content creators, figuring out if their content is good and just making it good, giving them the reach and distribution right away. I think if you put a larger label on TikTok, it might not probably get as much of a reach as if you were a single individual person.
As in, like, you start your own TikTok shop for the brand, it's not gonna work as good as well as finding influencers.
Yeah, because there is, there is a difference between UGC, user generated content, and the actual high quality, high production content, right? And it's if you just see like 2 reels or 2 TikToks and even 2 photos. One was made by some average person, right, with their skills, and then the other one was made with a team of like professionals, and you will see the difference in quality, difference in engagement and so on, right? TikTok is particularly good at promoting the first type, the UGC, the something which was made within like 5 minutes using your phone, with like CapCut or whatever, so with lower budget. I don't know what they do for the larger labels. Instagram specifically is trying to promote UGC, and maybe index not so much the glossy, polished, really good looking content, because what's the point in supporting bigger brands if regular people can do maybe almost as good?
I feel like there is a difference because for let's say a luxury brand.
Yes.
The reason why they have a well-produced video for their campaign is because they have a certain brand image to maintain.
Yep.
They're attracting a certain group of people. Yep. And then what the UGC does is more like, it's like a recommendation system. Like if you see your favorite TikToker doing a video about a brand and you want to buy from that, that's more like, your friend is telling you to buy. So it's for different purposes. Yeah, it really is. And so TikTok is, so also like how to define if a brand is established or not. We have seen a lot of like everyday brands, they are huge, but they're just serial brands, right? So for those brands, like it's perfect to go on TikTok, but they're established brands too. It's just established in a different way. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Let's maybe use specific examples.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite fashion brands would be Mugler. And not specifically, their fragrance is okay. I'm not a huge fan of their fragrance, but the visuals on the fashion side, I think, are stunning. And
then you have an image about the brand. You're like, when I think of this brand name, I think of a certain image.
Yes.
Perhaps it's prestige and it's luxurious. Like you think of that image. Yeah. So that's the reason why they have a lot of creative campaigns going on to maintain a certain brand image to attract their target audience. Yes.
Correct. And I'm thinking about, so if if you have a brand like Mugler, like who is like well established, right? And I would say they may be a bit orthogonal to a bit more traditional brands like Versace, for example, in the boldness of their like visuals and their marketing, right? So would you recommend them to make content for TikTok, for Instagram, for YouTube, or for billboards, or for television, like in your intuition, like this kind of image, where does it fit?
I think realistically speaking, they can do it all. Like let's use the Met as an example. When you think of the Met, you think of Met Gala, like luxury brands, fashion, and you think of all the collections they have at the museum, history, and their authority. But I did a campaign for the Met, which is on TikTok, and it's hashtag Met Gala, which is like promoting UGC, just people wearing their favorite outfits during the Met Gala time, and it went viral on TikTok. So it really is what kind of audience you're trying to attract, right? So for the Met, of course, they have a prestige group of donors and like people who are in the art and culture world, but they also want to attract a young audience. So that's why they initiated the campaign. So it really depends on what goal you're trying to achieve through this campaign, through using this social media platform. Yeah.
So it's not just the brand, the image of the brand, or the brand image, but it is also about what
they want to do.
Yeah, what kind of results they expect from the company.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Wonderful. Amazing. Lots of learning here. Let's talk about other marketing channels outside of social media. Social media is extremely useful, extremely powerful, 100%. But you also do, you mentioned you do the events as part of
Casa Cali.
Casa Cali, yes. You do events, which you probably sell through. I know, but we'll talk about this. And you also do. I also take part in other people's events, like say the Silicon Valley Fashion Week. In 2 days, it's going to be my event. Yeah, so happy to have you there.
Thank you.
And then you say, of course. And I'm glad that we are able to actually sit here before the event.
Yeah, exactly. To talk about the brand. Yeah.
Yeah, and let people know a bit more, so we can follow up with this kind of content after people see your collection on the runway.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to be complimentary. And then you are doing an event in Boston.
Yes, that's July 20th in Boston City Hall.
Boston City Hall is going to be a lot of high-profile people, local politicians. Yeah, so this the next time outside of my event, which is going to be in a couple of days, which probably we won't be ready with the content by that time. You can see Pyper in Boston on July 20th.
Yes, July 20th.
Awesome. So those events are probably yet another channel for you to market and to possibly sell. I don't know if you do like trunk sales after the events. What is your experience in terms of efficiency, and can you can you reach specific audience through events that you cannot reach through social media?
So for runway, it's more like a marketing channel and like showcase. But I've seen a lot of designer, what they did was like having their own private runway, like just one show for this one collection, for this one designer brand. And then they invite their potential customers, clients, and people from the fashion world to participate. And then they get publicity and sales from that event. So I just feel like private shows and also showrooms, like just invite influencers and potential buyers to go there and try all the collections on. I feel like that's probably better for the designers if they're like they're looking for more like a sales driven event. But Fashion Week is more like a celebration and you can represent your brand. But the level of Fashion Week really, really affects the sales. And I feel like for some designers, if they have their own community for the brand already established, then have the Fashion Week or not, participate in the Fashion Week or not, they're still going to sell, right? This is just like another stage for them to do the presentation. Yeah.
It's a very good call out. So I think when you achieve specific level, specific footprint in the design world, it kind of doesn't really give you much attending fashion shows won't give you much more. But if you are just up-and-coming designer, for you to jump on a high-profile runway event would give you all the exposure and maybe initial kind of bootstrap into access to like possible buyers and so on. So it gives you this initial like kick, like those runways are becoming like the angel investors.
Yeah.
We talk about like a VC world.
Yes. And for New York Fashion Week, they have some very, very good established brands, but I feel like they just need actual marketing kicks. That's why they go on New York Fashion Week. But it doesn't mean like they're not like well-known brands. They're still well-known brands. They just not as like, efficient like for the marketing part as like the top tier brands. So that's why they need the stage to present their collection. And also having all those amazing designers and brands in one place is a plus. Like it's more like a celebration networking opportunity. So it really depends on how the brand is doing. If it's lack of marketing, it can still go on Fashion Week. But if it's like, oh, this brand is already like sort everything out, then you can just have your own show and invite your close friends and clients, and then that's sufficient enough.
And it can even go. It usually goes even further. So when you are established brand, like like Versace does a lot of their own private runways, and they are of the like high fashion style. So I think about this in terms of different ways the models present the collections, right? So and for high fashion, it's like a very like fast walking, just like take a glimpse, but like that's it. We're not going to show you more. If you want more, then go and buy.
Right? Just taking an example, like the most recent runway that was like catch everybody's eyes was Jacquemus, and they did the 15-year celebration, and they launched a new collection, and it was like everywhere on social media. I think the brand does a really, really good job on marketing in general. And this time it's like, wow. And the designer invited celebrities and probably potential buyers and also his family to this runway in south of France. Well, actually in Italy. I think it's Capri, so it's Italy. So it was a huge success.
So but when the brand reaches the point where they don't really need anybody else, they can not just make their own events, but they also can have those exclusive deals with the models.
Yes.
And this is where the models make the most amount of money, because exclusivity costs a lot for the brand. But if the model is really good, then I think the brand gets the returns on this investment. So I think that's basically the best for the both sides of this relationship. Like again, Mugler has its own models, Versace has its own models, right? And then we have a lot of kind of like up and coming or younger models who are younger not in terms of age but in terms of like maturity, their career maturity. Who are looking up to those like signed exclusive models, and they want to be there, and that's why it's also tough because unfortunately modeling career is very short-lived, right? And you age out somewhat faster. Similar to say how like athletes age out, like soccer, football, and everything. You're like you hit like your 30, and it's kind of you need to think about what's next for you. You see, so all those opportunities where you can sign exclusive deal, they are also very temporary. So there is like short window of opening, and then there is massive competition. The effort to get there and the effort to just get exposed to those larger brands through fashion weeks is just immense. You see the competitions and say, when you go to New York Fashion Week or any other larger fashion week, the line for audition may be like around the block. Right, and this is what the models who are going there from here are usually telling me about their experience.
Yes,
the same time everyone
exactly.
has great experience. Cool. So Okay, let's talk a bit more about your fashion brand now.
Yes.
So
my favorite part.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of kept it all the way.
Yes.
Until 45 minutes into the podcast.
No worries.
Yeah. So, where do you see where do you feel your brand is in this like ladder of prestige and exclusivity? You don't have your own models yet, your own exclusive models, but you do throw your own events.
Yes, exactly. And for us, it's like we want to present this modern brand that we are exploring all the possibilities. I can just use an everyday model, but the goal is to make it a upscale brand. But you have seen a lot of models on the stage and on the runway. They're just like, now we are embracing all types of models. It's not just, oh, everybody's so skinny and pretty. Now we have different types of models. They're representations of their group. So we are open to that. We want to do more explorations of that kind. And so for me, it's like there is no like wrong way of picking your models. I really appreciated the traditional way of sourcing models through like a modeling agency, and of course they're very professional, but I want to create this brand which is upscale but like also accessible to a lot of people if they want to be part of it.
Yeah, I think some of your designs, and to give our audience a bit more context, so your genre is so-called retrofuturism.
Yeah, for this collection specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have different collections for, I would say, different kind of audiences.
Yes,
obviously,
yes.
right? So what I've seen so far, and I'm referring to Silicon Valley Fashion Week.
Yes.
Some of the stuff is something which you probably wouldn't be wearing outside of the runway, right?
So the point is, this is like something we show on the stage on the runway.
Yes.
But you can pair it up with something else and wear it outside of the runway, just in everyday life. Think of like, I don't know if you remember, like I had this look with just black tapes and also the chains, body chains. Think of if you can pair that up with like a just like clubbing clothes, and you can just go rave in that outfit perfectly fine. And you will be the center of the attention. So it's more like my brand is more like presenting a lifestyle. We want every piece to be useful. It's not just for the runway. You can absolutely wear it and also get this lifestyle outside of the runway and do it in everyday life. Every day is a celebration. And I had another look, which is the pajama piece, and with like the model going on the runway, like carrying a bottle of champagne and a champagne flute. And she was presenting a lifestyle. Like it's okay to walk the runway drunk, but she wasn't drunk. But like it was like presenting a lifestyle. It's like fun. Girls can do whatever they want. They can just be pretty when they're drunk, and they can just wear their pajama and drink champagne and go on the stage and be the center of attention. So it's more like a lifestyle. Is like fun to see, and also fun to present that kind of idea coming from my everyday life. Yeah, just every day can be a celebration. And you can make every day fun. Yeah,
I think what you described is more like you only live once. Right?
Yes,
so
exactly. Why don't you make every day count? And a lot of my pieces are like that. It's like a representation of a lifestyle instead of just a runway piece. And also like a lot of the pieces you're like, oh, I can't possibly wear this outside of runway, but you actually can. Thinking of going clubbing, go like a rave and going to a DJ set, or just having a birthday celebration, you can always wear whatever you want, and it can be a shiny piece.
I think folks will put some photos here. Please send me some photos. So it would be easier to understand what we're talking about. but I think there is also you as the artist, because you need to imagine those those looks first before you create them. So you as the artist, do you feel like collections kind of represent your own life? Have you ever like experienced like, hey,
definitely.
I'm 22 and drunk, right? And I'm just walking home like because I'm too drunk to drive my car, for example, right? And all those people are making all the noise about me, and fuck them. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah. Fashion is a format of art. It's like architecture, it's movement, it's culture, it's a lot of things in one place. Think of fashion, because it's like fashion is like ever changing, and also it's like you put a lot of ideas onto a person, and they're wearing your collections, they're presenting something that's coming from you, like a creation. So fashion is definitely art, and it's also like my way of expressing myself. So everything I did on the runway, that was a representation of my idea of how to live my life, how to have fun, how to appreciate art, how to appreciate life in general.
Probably there was some life event after which you felt the passion to specifically maybe like create specific look, right? So like as I mentioned, if it's a drunk girl, then maybe you've been drunk going back home from a club, right? And you're like, well, how about I just create one of the pieces that represents my current state right now, right? So can you maybe name one of the strongest experiences in your life where we should definitely put out on the runway after?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So my partner, he's Mongolian. I have never experienced Mongolian culture after like we throw this huge event in Mongolia. And it was a few hundred people. And we did a lot of, we actually made all the designer wear for that event specifically. I think we made like about 50 pieces. And a year ago, like a year before that event, because all those like collection, all those like designer wears are like handmade. And I remember like we pair each outfit with a stunning headpiece. So that was like the time I was like, oh, this is Mongolian culture. I'm experiencing it, and I immerse myself in this culture, and it's affecting me a lot. Like the headpiece, it just made the whole look complete. And after that, I was like, oh, I probably need to think of like what kind of headpiece I need to give to my model to pair with the clothes. And also accessories play a big part in the look. So that's why you see a lot of my runway looks, they come with the headpiece.
Yes.
So that was the life moment. So we had this huge celebration ceremony in Mongolia, and after seeing all that fashion from another very, very different culture, I was like, I need to use this in my own collection. Yeah.
Very cool.
That was a live event I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I'd be
amazing.
Like, yeah, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, what a story. And the Mongolian culture is, again, it's a country that is very like under the radar because, well, there were times when Mongolia was on everybody's in everybody's mind maybe 800 years ago, right? And like now it's a very peaceful country between Russia and China, with really good food, by the way, and also very strong visuals.
I will send you some pictures so you can have a reference up there. But the headpieces are so amazing, and they're all handmade. It's like so heavy. When I was putting all those headpieces on, I was like, oh, I can't be able, I can't do this. I can't just, it's too heavy for me. But it was stunning, and it's like, I feel like it's just like not something you see in everyday life.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just like, that's fashion too. That's just a different format of fashion from another culture. But it was a great inspiration for me.
Yeah, and again, you pair those looks, which are very unusual and stunning, with, again, very unique way of singing.
Yeah,
because like Mongolian singing, Mongolian, and also there are tribes north from Mongolia who also practice very same technique. It's like throat kind of like singing. So you pair this together, and you are just you are for a show that you've never seen in your life, probably will never see again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I can understand how it is, how it motivates.
Yeah, I'll definitely send you some references. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so and you, so here the part I'm still curious about is where is the bridge between production and marketing, and then you pivoted into pretty much a lot of different kind of brands.
I have a very diverse background. Yeah.
Correct. But somehow fashion is one of your strongest.
Yes, I just feel like, when you were younger, like, of course, coming from an Asian culture, my parents, they always wanted me to have a very, very promising career. And so like studying business and going to school, I did my master. So all these all fit into this certain like way of living from other people's eyes. They're like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, because this is good, this is like proven by society, this is what's gonna be a promising career. And then at some point, especially after like entrepreneurship hits me, and I was like, I want to do something that I really, really passionate and good at, like passionate on and good at, and then do it for the rest of my life. And what's that going to be? And then for me, at first, it was the business side of fashion, because fashion merchandising has always been my passion, and then e-commerce, right? Because that's part of the business too. And then at some point, I feel like I can do the creative part too, because I have always been a creative person. I worked in creative industries. I've seen how it's done. So I feel like, especially like going to like all these runway shows and seeing how other designers, they're putting their ideas out there through clothing, I was like, I can do this too. I'll just make clothes for myself and then see how it works. And then everybody loved it. So I'm like, I'm going to make my own collection. This is the way of expressing myself. So I'm going to do this and put my ideas out there. So I started drawing. I actually learned drawing when I was little because my uncle is an artist and my mom, she was a pianist. So I was like, I grew up and I was a dancer professionally from age 7 to 15. I did ballroom. So like a lot of my upbringing is like really creative. I was immersed in this culture, this family culture of everybody is offering me something as for creativity. So I had the foundation for, creating and drawing. So I just started designing. And now all these amazing pieces you guys have seen on runway, I actually just learned sewing myself and put together. Because I went to college and grad school, I know how to use Illustrator and all these like softwares to make my idea happen. And I have partners who are specialized in 3D printing too. So we have been doing a lot of creations through just the traditional way of fashion manufacturing and also the new ways of fashion manufacturing. So yeah, now all the pieces come together and this is working out. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating story. And I do feel like in the arts world, it feels more like a puzzle. You're trying new things, and then you kind of step back and you try new things, and then new things, and then suddenly, bam! What if now I know all that?
Exactly.
What if I connect them, and then something new comes out of it?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And I do have my own experience, which we can talk about later. But let's focus on your experiences. So you also mentioned a really cool thing. So your parents, well, I mean, this is traditional for like Asian parenting style, where like you need to learn math, you need to be good at this and that. Go back and study. Yeah, so all that is understandable, and of course, any parent would want their children to succeed. When you pivoted away from the traditional career that your parents would be able to understand to something which is, it's quite fascinating. Like you work with influencers, TikTok, social media, and so on. But for older generations, it's just unachievable to understand until they see this and experience this. So probably they were not very happy about this Can you maybe reflect on how it went?
One way to convince your parents is that you are like at some point you're like financially like enough, like you're enough for yourself and for your lifestyle, and then they're like, oh, now I don't need to worry about you. So I just feel like that's very important. You need to financially prove yourself to your parents, and then they're like, oh, you're doing this, I don't understand this thing, but like you're doing fine and you're living your life and I don't need to worry about you. And then I think that's the point. You're like, oh, I proved to my parents I can do this. And then they're just whatever, because at the end of the day they want their kid to be happy too. Yeah.
And you mentioned you need to be financially enough, and I know it's different for for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's very different for everybody.
What would you say is the threshold for enoughness? So like, what is enough?
So like everybody is like, well, at least like, you are able to support yourself and you have like the means to do what you want to do and you have the means to invest. As long as like you can do that, I feel like, yeah, like everybody has a different opinion of, when enough is enough. And it's just for me, as long as I can support myself, I can still maintain my lifestyle, then I can be free and pursue my passion. But it doesn't mean I don't do anything else to support like this passion. Because like having this strength in marketing and like my career so far, like this many years I've been working in this field, I still do a lot of consulting and managing work and in this field to bringing just like the actual funds and actual like money to fuel my passion. And of course I have like funds from like the investors and the other people. So as long as this is gonna work out, I think it's great. Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like it's still like not a question of whether, but when.
Yeah.
Like whether it's going to work out and when it's going to work out.
Yeah, I feel like there's like never a time you're like, oh, this is like, I'm going to start right now, because you will never figure it out. So what I did was I just did it step by step, like having a small company and then bring it to the next step, to the next stage. And then at some point I feel like, oh, I'm matured enough. My business is matured enough to create this brand. That's what I did. So it really depends on like, what you like when you decide, that's like the starting point. And also nothing is gonna work out in the first year, so you just have to try different things to be able to tell which direction is gonna fly. Yeah,
and I love that you mentioned this. First year is definitely, it's kind of like it's a way for you to understand, hey, does it even make any sense?
Yeah,
right. But also if we look at a lot of successful businesses, be it like marketing brands or be it like product development and whatnot, the lifespan is not even 1 year. It's usually longer.
Yeah, it's way longer.
It's way longer. Like I would say like a decade.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, first 3 years for you, if you can get to the point where some money is flowing in within the first 3 years, that's a successful company.
Yeah.
Possibly. Like you figured out how to make money, so now you just need to scale it up, right? So a lot of businesses, this country is, it gets lots of praises for like being this open market and entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
And a country of small businesses. That said, 60% of small businesses getting closed within 3 years, and the reason for that is that I think to run a business, it's not just this grind which which a lot of people have, but it's also the preparedness for the long run. It's a marathon, of course, and you might be trying different ways to do this.
Yes.
But it's not a 1 year or 3 year thing. It's usually a decade long.
That's a very good point. I feel like at this point, whatever matured brand, at least take them 15 years to get there. And it's not a problem for me because now at least I started, right? So at some point, like maybe 10 years later, I will have a successful brand. But if I don't start right now, when am I ever going to have that?
Exactly.
So now at least like what I can say to myself is that maybe 10 years later you will have a successful brand. But if I don't ever start, I'm just having this image, this idea, this concept in my head and never actually putting execution, then when are you actually going to get a chance of having that brand? So it's not a problem for me as long as this brand is sustainable. And also I don't just start anything for the purpose of making money because that's not going to last long.
Right. Mission, vision is a very important.
Well, of course, like making money is the essential part, but you can't just start, especially in the art fashion world, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to start this thing and hope it makes money and hope this business can support myself. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to abandon it. I'm going to give up right here. Then you will never like actually be able to get anywhere because this is not a field, not an industry that you can just make quick money.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a tech startup. So just having that mindset and go into starting a business that's like fueled by your passion, not by the purpose of, oh, I'm going to make tons of money because I did this. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to get so frustrated. Just don't do that to yourself. Otherwise, just choose a like money-making career that's like quicker for you, that's like more promising for you. Don't do this. So I just started this with the goal of I'm going to do this forever. And no matter what, as long as this brand is sustainable, it's like going and I'm going to keep doing it and be consistent. And then eventually it's going to get somewhere. So this is like why and how I even get started in the first place. I think this is like what's gonna keep me going, moving forward.
Yeah, it's a common theme and common mindset for a lot of successful entrepreneurs. They didn't start businesses because they wanted to make quick money.
Yeah, otherwise you can't even last a day.
Yeah,
it's very, very like it's a lot of hard work and it does get frustrated sometimes. And a lot of the times, like what you put in the market, it just doesn't work out. And how are you going to take that feedback? Yeah. So just you have to go into the business with your passion. Otherwise, you can't last a year.
Yeah. And also you mentioned a few more things which, I found also live by them. There are some things that you should have started doing yesterday.
Yes.
If there's something you're delaying, there will be no better time than now.
Exactly.
Okay. Because what happens is, yes, as you grow and you mature, you clearly are improving in some areas, but also kind of there's trade-off. Like maybe your health will start to deteriorate. Well, I mean, until you maybe in your 40s and 50s. Now with the modern healthcare, you shouldn't be worrying about it that much. But I mean, things can happen. Like your life can end much earlier than you think, and unfortunately, we don't have control over such situations. You see, and like the way I live now is basically, I'm trying to imagine myself on my last days of life. I'm doing
the same. What do I want to do? Just think about this. On that day, when you're on your deathbed, you don't have anything to take with you, just your memories.
Yes.
And you can think about what I have done for my life, and I don't want myself to regret anything. Think of all the material stuff. You can really take that with you. All you can take is your memories. And today, my partner asked me, if we just count the the years you put into your brand, and once your brand is going to be an established brand, you're probably going to be in your 40s. Are you okay with that? I'm like, why not? If I'm in my 40s and I have a dream brand and I put it into the market and my dream comes true in my 40s, that's awesome. And it doesn't really matter as long as I do this once in my lifetime and it's going somewhere and it's a dream come true for me, then that's awesome. That's a good memory I can take with me. Yeah. Right.
Here you go. You said it better than me. This is what I like to this is how I like to explain my motivations to other people. And now there is somebody else who I've never met before.
I live by this philosophy of life. I'm just like, think of like your life is like consists of like many little moments. Yeah. And my goal is to have as many good moments as possible because that's all I can take with me, nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like runway can be a moment. I'll be like in my 40s and looking back to last week and be like, oh, that's like when I launched my retro futurism collection in Silicon Valley, which is like a desert for fashion. Think of this place, right? But I did it. It's a moment for me. And a lot of people, they have seen it and they loved it. It's a moment in my life. So I really like that concept. Yeah.
I had a good relationship with my granddad. He was approaching the age where his health wasn't allowing him to do a lot of things that he used to. Like his knees were not properly functioning. So for him, walking was difficult, very painful and so on. And he was teaching me things like basically, hey, when you get to my age, what kind of regrets are you going to have, right? Will you regret that, say you've partied too much? Will you regret that, say you've been or you haven't dated enough? Will you regret that you haven't tried things? Because when you are in this age, you will have no more chances to do that.
Exactly.
So basically, if you want to try something,
try it now.
Yeah, try it now. Do not delay. It's a matter of the mindset of entrepreneurship is to figure out how to get things.
And you just don't have a clear answer. Just try and adjust it to a different direction or whatever, but don't ever stop. Yeah. I feel like that's the most important part. And also, like, just to echo what your grandpa said, I just feel like at this age of life, I come to realize that I want to spend every single day of my life in creating, in being this creative person, creating something. And I just need to get close to creativity or creative people surrounding me. And this is how I want to spend the rest of my life. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess when it's your last days and you just don't move and you just lay there and
thinking of all these amazing memories I had.
This family around you and somebody from your family bows down and says, hey, what is your biggest scare? Right? So now what is your biggest scare?
I'll be like, I have none.
Yeah, you see, and what makes you happy now, knowing that those are less days, okay? So like I think reflecting on your memories, on your life, if you feel like you've lived a good life, full of different experiences, this is the life worth living.
Yes.
Okay. My biggest fear, if I get to the point where it's my last days, my biggest fear is that I haven't tried something I wanted to try, but I was postponing. This is my biggest fear.
Yeah. So just try everything now.
Well, I mean, to what's legal, or it depends on your own personal choice, okay? But there are some things which you should try in terms of business, in terms of taking calculated risks, and just, even if you don't know the path, but you know that there are people who got there, there are ways to learn from them, maybe even indirectly. So the question for you would be, let me finish my phrase, but you can think about the answer. If you had any mentors, who was the person you learned the most from, and who you want your next mentors to be? So think about this for now. But I'm going to finish my line of thought here. So there are ways to learn from people indirectly. Like with social media now, all those people who are the so-called thought leaders, they put content out, okay? And in some cases, this content is out there just to make money, just to make engagement, and then do monetization and so on. But sometimes this content is actually good, and it can be there isn't much of a correlation between if the content is free or paid, and the value of the content. You can get a lot of really valuable knowledge for free. And a lot of stuff which you can buy can be garbage. Okay, so again, use your own judgment. But there are ways to learn from your people of influence indirectly. Just read the biographies, any kind of articles, watch movies with them, about them, or watch their content and so on. And what's interesting that as soon as you start moving somewhere and you use social media to kind of show your progress, suddenly those people get closer to you. Okay, because maybe now when you send them an email, they would read it, okay, and they would respond, compared to say 5 years before, you were nobody and nobody knew you, and people didn't respond to you. So the more you go, the more you try, and the more visibility you have, the more yeses you are going to get. And maybe at some point you will be able to get, your dream mentor this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about your mentors? Tell me about who you worked with and who you want to work with.
So I had this indirect mentor. So she is the founder of Estee, which is an e-com fashion brand, and she actually started her business here in San Francisco by just doing secondhand vintage pieces, and that's how she made money on eBay 20 years ago. And 20 years later, she had this huge success, but at some point, because of lack of management and strategy, she sold her company, and at some point it went to bankruptcy. But this brand still exists up until today. It's called Nasty Girl. I feel like, and her story was sold to Netflix. They did a whole production TV series on it, and it's called Girl Boss. And I feel like, even though I feel like the story wasn't 100% true, because it's art, of course they twist it a little bit here and there, but I feel like having this kind of content out, this is the power of TV series and film.
Yeah.
They tell the young people how to dream. That was obviously a very successful story about a women entrepreneur, right? I was so inspired by that, and that's a huge part of the reason why I started all this, because I found the same passion and I found entrepreneurship too. So I just feel like she, the founder of Nasty Girl, she is my indirect mentor through that TV series. But then I followed up with her real life happenings and all that. It wasn't all flowers and rainbow and fairy tales. As an entrepreneur, she has to go through a lot of the bad side of things, but it was something that taught me how to dream. So I really appreciated that. And then today, if I'm going to have a mentor, I want this mentor to be Jacquemus, which is the founder of Jacquemus. And he started his brand when he was 19, and I believe he lived in France and not the city part of France. And growing up, inspired by his mom a lot, and he just loved fashion and started his own creations when in his early ages. So 15 years later, today, Jacquemus being one of the most successful designer brands in the market, and also they do the most creative marketing campaigns I've ever seen in the market. I just feel like if I'm gonna have a mentor, I want it to be him. And also he's very true to himself. Now he lives very happily. He's married to his husband, and the two of them, they're very happy together. I just feel like he has always been this true to himself person, and he has crazy ideas, and he was very inspired by a lot of history events and celebrities throughout the history, and I can see it in his design. And I can sometimes if you see an artist's creation, you can feel what they're trying to say, and also you can feel them as a person. I just really like the part that he's always being true to himself, and he's doing all these amazing works, and it's affecting millions of people out there. And every time I see that, it just lighten up my day. and his creation and his design. So if I'm to have a mentor, I want it to be him. Yeah.
Wonderful. I love it. Okay. And one question for you I had is, have you tried actually reaching out to your mentors and at least let them know that, hey, listen, you inspire me, and I started my career or my path learning from you, and here is what I was able to achieve. I just wanted to let you know. You don't need to respond.
I feel like right now, because I'm still very much on the business side of fashion, I want to go more into the design part. Right. And I'm thinking of like probably doing like design schools in Europe, and at a certain point I believe I will actually probably meet him at an event, and then I will tell him in person. And I just have that confidence.
Yeah, that's inspiring.
Yeah, I just feel like right now is not the time. But I feel like throughout my life, like every career path I've ever chosen, I've gotten so close to the part that I actually want it to be. And if I leave that industry, it's because I want a different career path. So I'm just really confident that I can eventually get there and meet all these amazing people in Europe and at some fashion events. And I just have this vision. Yeah.
I love it. Wonderful. Yeah, that's the mindset to have, and that's the life to live. Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, few more things. You mentioned a few more things that when you're growing up, you liked two things: dancing and drawing.
Drawing and dancing. Drawing is probably my drawing is kind of like forced on. Like my uncle, he's an artist. He was teaching at the time, so I was like one of the kids in his class, and I was always there. So I had the skill set built when I was a little kid, but it wasn't like my biggest passion. I feel like that was like when I started to explore art, because you know how art and fashion, they correlate, and you kind of need to understand the world of art to be able to put it into the execution of fashion. So I'm so glad I had that foundation, and my mom was like so into dancing and music, singing, dancing, and all that, and she was like a professional in that field too, but she was also a professor teaching all those things. And so I was able to have this good foundation of understanding of music, and dancing was like because I was professionally trained. So all these amazing things. Now, if you think of a runway, isn't that like I pick my music, I dress up my models, and I do my own creation designs, I do my own decorations, and I need to actually draw things to put that into execution. So it's kind of like a combination of my childhood, like all the skill sets I had and putting them all together. But I always had a passion for fashion since I was little, but nobody from my family that actually do this, and they don't even know how to sew. Like my grandma does, but my mom is like sami. She sami knows.
Grandmas are amazing. They can do anything, right?
Yeah, I remember my grandma had this sewing machine. Yeah, she had this sewing machine, and it's always running. And it was like one of the oldest versions. Yeah. And I just didn't know that passion was my fashion was my passion back then, but I always show myself very differently. So, you know, like how you were little kids and like your parents buy you clothes, and my mom gave me the freedom to choose my clothes, which is very important. Not like my sister. I remember my little cousin sister. I remember like her mom buy her clothes, and they're always in pink because her mom wants to dress her up in pink, but she hated pink when she grew up. So that wasn't good. But my mom gave me the freedom to choose my clothes, which is great. And she never actually, you know, like tell me like you can't buy this because this is too expensive. She always buys me stuff like I really want, because she can see like I really want this piece. I just really want this. It's gonna make me happy for a month. And my mom would buy it like no matter how expensive that is. Like now thinking of like the money we spend on clothes, it's like for other families, they're probably like, oh, this is crazy. We can totally spend that on food or something else. But my mom supported my passion through like a everyday way. Not like I was professionally trained as a designer growing up, but she did give me the freedom of exploring myself in beautiful clothes. And my uncle too, he always bring me beautiful dresses from like another city he travels to. And so I was always supported in that atmosphere of exploring fashion, wearing clothes that I'm comfortable with and I want to present myself in. And I remember like when I was like a high school student or like middle high, I forgot the specific time, but I wanted like this red coat, which is like, it's like a gown. It's not like just a short red coat. It's like a really, really long one with fur. And then it's like so out there. It's so dramatic. It's almost like theater clothes, like you would wear like a costume. And I would wear that red coat like in wintertime, and like all my friends, they laugh at me. They think it's too dramatic. But my mom would tell me, oh, you look so pretty in this. Just don't care. Don't
what others say.
Yes. Just don't care what other people tell you, and just wear this because you look pretty in it. That's enough. So, and then like all those people laughing at me, at some point they're borrowing my clothes. They're like, oh, can I borrow that coat? I'm like, but you said like it's too much. So it was always that. So that's why I'm like always so confident in wearing things. And now I'm so confident about my fashion, my creation too, because it's not about other people's opinion. It's about me expressing myself as an artist. And if that, like if somebody out there, they echoes with my idea, then that's great. But I'm not doing this to please anybody. Yeah, it's my own creation. And this is how I communicate with the world. And if somebody echoes, then that's great. But if like you have an opinion about my fashion, then I don't really need to think about it because it doesn't really matter to me. Yeah.
Yeah, very powerful theme here. So one of them is like being honest to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Being genuine to yourself. Like what motivates you and why are you doing things? Unfortunately, now we live in, and I'm talking about this in a bunch of different contexts, but that's the reality. Unfortunately, now we live in the world where a lot of actions and decisions are being made to seek for validation. Like people get into relationships because it's like a status symbol. Like look at my new boyfriend, you know, and all the social media actually helps people to achieve quick validation, which triggers, you know, the dopamine response in your brain. So a lot of decisions are being made not because internally you want this to happen, but because you are trying to get specific response from everybody around you. Okay, and actually doing the opposite it's a rare quality, but this is the path towards, you know, internal integrity, and just richer and happier life. Okay, and then another one is in general people over-index the value of the societal perception. Because say everyone has their own problems and their own life to live, and even though it looks like they pay attention to you, they always pay much less attention to you than you think.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like life doesn't have that many audience.
Exactly. It's like, yes, somebody can, you know, take a look at what you're doing and give you a ton of shit about this, okay? But then 2 seconds after, they are gone from your life forever, right? And it was just noise.
Exactly.
You see? So it's all irrelevant. So I think also this ability to kind of block and filter and ignore the feedback that is not really helpful and doesn't move you towards your goals. Again, it's a skill that needs to be developed, and I think not so many people have this. A lot of my female friends, but also for guys, it's a bit less applicable. But like especially younger ladies, you know, younger girls, they are very sensitive towards what society thinks about them. To the point where they believe that what they see on social media is the image. And if this image doesn't fit their perception of themselves, they can go as far as, like doing something to themselves. So this is the influence of bad signaling, of noise on your life, and basically inability to filter what's useful signal and what's not.
Yes. I feel like this, so I grew up a lot in recent years after I started my own companies and 100%. Doing a lot of like entrepreneurship things. And I feel like one lesson I've learned is that to judge less. Because first of all, do you ever find like two people, it's very hard to communicate because they're coming from different upbringings, culture, and education. There is no way you guys can just like talk like in fluent language. That's just like rare.
Yep.
And you need to respect other people for who they are and why they're behaving in a certain way. So like your judgment, like in a way, doesn't make sense. It's just coming from your own ideas. And that's the first thing I come to realize. And the second thing is that personality is formed differently for everybody. So I myself is this strong-minded person, but it doesn't mean other people are. Sometimes they are sensitive, right? Sometimes they are, they're less assertive. So I need to give them enough respect to let them process. I can't just be like, oh, everybody should take this fine just because like I'm this strongly minded person and I expect other people to be as strong as me. No, they're not. Everybody is so different in a way. So at some point, I just learned to not judge because it's just not a respectful thing to do. Yeah, so this is the biggest lesson I've learned. And sometimes if you feel like, oh, it's very hard to talk to this person, then just be respectful and don't go deeper because like you guys are just made very, very differently through all these years. And there is no point of persuading other people to believe what you believe in because everybody has their own lives. Yeah.
You basically just invalidated the whole point of like Reddit or any kind of like a place in the internet where it's a bit.
Well, of course, like you can take a look at other people's comments and have your own judgment.
Yes.
Because how you process their idea is your own thing, but how they express themselves is their thing. Yep. You don't really need to process that like in a bad way. Yeah, you can be like, oh, this person is like a joke or whatever. Yeah.
I think it's the nature of human psychology and maybe some other mammals that when the psyche is just forming, you think about things in this kind of a binary, like black and white way. So there is the right way and the wrong way. And because I live my life and I'm still alive, then my way is the only right way. Okay. And then as soon as you mature and you meet people who can come with totally different backgrounds and totally different cultural contexts, right? Their ways are so different from yours, and you will be thinking, hey, those people are stupid, right? And you will try to persuade them. And it takes time and wisdom to understand that, hey, there are so many ways to be right and so many ways to get somewhere in life, and your way is just one of the billions of ways, okay? And it's not your job to persuade everybody else that you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the energy that goes into arguing and disagreeing with each other can be funneled into productive things, creative things, right? And I think society would be better.
Yeah, exactly. Like even now, like I feel like a lot of people, they seek like validation from me for like fashion sense. But that's like one thing I don't want to do because I regretted this so much. So like last year when I have like my brand was just an idea, I haven't done like this much of creation. And I've met people, they think I have some ideas in fashion, so they ask me like, do I look good in this, do I look good in that? And I always give them my most honest opinions and telling them like you should do better. But now if I reflect back on that, I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that. That's actually very mean of me to just tell them things that's from my own fashion sense, you know, because fashion is personal for everybody. It's like fragrance. Like everybody, they just like different type of fragrance.
Yes.
You can't expect other people to fit into this mold of your taste. So how can you just give people advice like that? So reflect back on that. I wish what I did was more encouraging. Be like, oh, this is like a cool piece, and encourage them more instead of like telling them what you should do. And yeah, so that's a lesson I've learned so far. Because like moving forward down the road, I believe a lot of people surrounding me, like my friends, families, or like my clients, customers, or future colleagues, they will look up to me for like fashion advice at least, right? So I just don't want to be this person who's like, oh, because I know better, so I'm telling you all this. I don't want to be that anymore. That's so mean to people. I want to be this encouraging friend, telling them, oh, you're doing great, and I love the fact that you love fashion, because not a lot of people, they care. So yeah, that's like probably the biggest change for me this year.
Yeah, that's maturing. You know, that's basically getting wiser with every year, and that's a good way to see that there are many ways to measure, right, success, not just monetarily, but also like, are you learning? Are you becoming a better person?
Yeah, I've learned so much from the last 2 years.
Yeah, and you also mentioned, well, a few things. There are multiple components to this. One of them is there is a skill to give feedback, right? So you say, before you were like, well, just very like, you know, blunt and like, hey, you that thing sucks on you, you know, throw it away, like burn it up. So there's a way to provide feedback, but also, which is much more difficult, is there is a way to accept feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. The very first like emotion and intuition when somebody criticizes you is to get defensive. You see, and like to me, well, my background is I was in engineering for a long while, and you know, like companies here in Silicon Valley, they have this very rich culture of feedback. Like everybody, you know, meets with each other and criticizes each other. So you kind of have to learn how to be open to feedback, and how to understand the feedback. And if you don't understand the feedback, then sometimes there are people who can help you kind of like break it down, translate it into what's actionable, what's not, right? And it can get toxic, of course, because sometimes your performance and even your employment depends on the feedback, right? But in general, it's a healthy thing to do, to just listen to people a bit more and understand, hey, are they right about me? Like, do they know me better than me? Because I might be blind, like, because my eyes are inside of me, and they're not looking at my face, for example.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of like blocking this very first initial desire to get defensive about feedback. So that's something which will open a lot of interesting reflection and growth. Cool. One more topic which I love talking about. So you mentioned that now when you are a business leader, right? You are trying to be less judgmental, because you just, well, there are so many reasons for this, and I totally understand. One of them is you just don't have time to be judgmental anymore, right? There's so much that needs to be done, right? And you also are working with people who are you mentioned, a bit less assertive, right? And maybe a bit more soft-spoken, a bit more of on the side where they need to be given a chance to speak up. They need to be given. That's very common in art, in the creative world, where maybe there is not so much of extroversion going on, and people kind of need to be enabled to convey themselves to everybody else, and not just focus on the material things and just being in isolation. So, did you feel like your personality also changed from a creative person who was into Singing. By the way, on the singing side, how fast can you embarrass yourself if you go for karaoke?
I would be the person holding the mic the whole night.
Wow.
Yeah, like
so you're that
constantly
good.
Saying. Yeah, I'm that person.
Is there still anybody in the audience there though, or is it just you singing?
Well, there are a few people like they're like me. We're fighting for the mic. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Cool.
But just a few. The rest of them they're like pretty chill. And
yeah. So singing is interesting because even though it's a form of art, it also requires you to have enough social skills.
Gift. And also social
to be able to present that gift to other people. So I would say maybe you are more extroverted if you're a singer.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, I mean, it's kind of obvious why you became a leader. A lot of leaders are extroverted. Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of leaders are taller by nature. It's interesting that majority of CEOs are like over 6 feet. 6 feet tall. Nobody knows why. It just happens.
That's not true.
Well, if we talk about men. Maybe for women it's a bit different. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what's about the driving factor. Anyways, the question I like to talk about is, so as you became the leader and you build this hierarchy of people around you, right? So probably you have reports, right? And those reports also have their own reports. This comes with a lot of responsibility because you need to make decisions for the whole, not just for yourself, but for the whole company. But also this comes with power, feeling of power. Like, do you feel like this ability to exercise power is something that pulls you down because it's difficult?
I feel like I had a good practice in the corporate world. I was managing a huge team of probably 16 people when I was working in the corporate. Mm-hmm. I've done that historically. Like, I remember my first job, like I get to manage a small team the second half of the year when I got that job. So I was always seen by the outside world, like in the corporate, the companies, that I'm a manager role throughout my corporate life so far. And so I had a good practice there. But I also made a lot of mistakes on people operations. It's not like huge mistakes or anything, but small mistakes that I, like, if it's today, I would totally avoid that. People management is such a hard thing, especially like when I was managing the big team that's actually cross-functional and cross-cultural. So a lot of them, they're like based outside of US, like in Canada, in Mexico, in Singapore, in London. So it was very hard. The hardest thing is that every culture, people work very differently.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to understand their culture first and then understand why they're doing things a certain way. Like, for example, my Mexican colleagues, they go to lunch at 3 p.m., like things like that. It's not like they're just disappeared like in the middle of the day. They went on their lunch break. So it's just like small things like that. And also their culture is more like you don't really do like criticism like this much, like in a group meeting and all that. I feel like that's like more like a American work culture.
Yeah.
Not so much, but still we bring up things in meetings, but it doesn't fit into their culture and their beliefs. So it's just a lot of cultural things. And also I have like friends, like good, very close friends from different cultures, and they behave in very different ways. And it's just, they are just different. Like, it's their culture. They're like that. So you need to respect that. For me, is that I learned a lot from this process, managing people by making small mistakes. And to a point, I'm like, at this point, once I started my company, I wish to have more partnerships instead of like boss employees, this kind of structure. So, Silicon Valley is actually a very good example. I've seen a lot of companies, they're just running on like 10 people and they have a small team, but they're super productive. And everybody is like, they're working together instead of working under. So I think that part of the people management skills I was taught by a lot of the tech companies, actually. Yeah. And that's the best practice I can ask for. Yeah.
smaller teams are flat because everyone is wearing multiple hats.
Yes.
And it's difficult to it's just difficult to create a formal structure. Okay, and it's not really necessary because the team is small, and everybody kind of sees what everybody else is doing. As soon as you grow the human structure, it gets more and more difficult to follow with what everybody else is doing. So you kind of have to get summaries, and somebody has to give the summary for you, and so on. So this is where there is one person whose job is to kind of just go around, like project managers. Their job is to go around and collect statuses from all the other people, summarize, and then deliver it to you, and so on. So I think hierarchy is a function of the size. So like if we talk about like search trees, I'm pretty sure even though you are so much into art, I'm pretty sure you know some basics of computer science, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about search trees. If the number of nodes in the tree is not big, then the height of the tree is also not big, right? But as soon as you have a bunch of nodes, then the tree grows up as well, because there is a binary search tree specifically, or tertiary. Anyways, so there is that. You also worked in the environments where you've been reporting to somebody else.
Yes.
So now you're kind of like your own boss, but that's also a misconception. So when you start a business, your customers or your clients are becoming your bosses. You have a lot of them, and all of them have different requirements and opinions, and they want you to do a lot of different things. So it's up to you to figure out what's the right thing you should be doing. So it's, in a sense, it's more difficult because there are so many different requests, and they are in no way synchronized. Okay, there is no such thing as I'm my own boss. My own boss, it means that you don't really need to make any sales or anything.
Yeah, you still have investors you need to report to, your clients, customers, and your vendors. Yes, like there's always that. You always need to work around people and take like opinions from them. But one thing is that because this is a fashion brand and we need to maintain a certain brand image. So I can say yes to a lot of things, but at the same time say no to a lot of things. I feel like having the image there is very important because sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm sacrificing this part of the audience, but you're keeping a majority of your right audience there. So that's why, like, for example, why Hermes, they just don't, like, even if they have like products that won't sell, they just burn it. They don't actually sell it cheap. So every brand does something for a reason to maintain an image, to serve a certain group of people, because for Hermes, their audience is not everybody on earth. It's a certain group of people. So this is like doing a consumer brand. I feel like every founder has to have this clear idea. Who am I talking to through the brand, and who are my real audience? Yeah.
So is Hermes the very same brand that you need to get referral to be able to purchase?
You need to get your what?
Like, so there is I think it's a handbags brand that I'm trying to remember the name of it. And the handbags are not just very expensive, but also there is a very limited number of them.
Yeah. I think you're talking about Hermes. Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah, now I can understand. Because, so one more question for you I had is about like margins in the fashion industry, and like how expensive can it be to just make a bag, right? Especially if you do it somewhere, maybe like in South Asia, right? Or in.
I disagree because a lot of the luxury brands, what they're doing is that they're pioneering the material industry. They're constantly bringing up new materials and better quality clothing, and they are the ones paying like the designers. So basically, they are maintaining this world of fashion going. And they are the one eliminating all the toxic materials and toxic like anything that can come into your everyday life, and they are the ones who are exploring sustainability in the fashion world and make Earth a better place. So there are a lot of things they do. It's not just like making a bag, like the cost. If you think of things like that, then how much does it cost to make a house compares to the price they sell, right?
In California, not that much, but house itself is not what you're buying though. You're buying land.
Yeah, but still, like, who put a price on the land? So
market.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So it really is like a lot of people they're buying Hermes is not just because they want a handbag. It's they want a lifestyle. And that's what Hermes wants too. Yeah. They don't want you to just buy a handbag. They want your house full of Hermes product so they can provide they can like insert a certain of image and lifestyle into your everyday life. So they want to convey their idea through a selection of products, not just a handbag. So it really is not that simple. Yeah, just like creating a handbag is not that. And also for people who just don't really care about fashion, like there is no point of buying anything. They can just use a tote bag, like a canvas tote bag every day.
Yeah. And you can go to like Goodwill and get like second hand and whatnot. So
yeah, but like think of like when an artist paint a painting, how much does it cost, but how much is it actually selling for? And let alone auctions, right? If you sell paintings and collections on auctions, that's like even more. But why people are still buying that? They're supporting a world, a concept, an idea, and a style. Like they're making all these amazing things we have been seeing today still exist on the planet. And if there is if this part of the things I just described, they don't exist, then nobody's creating anymore. Nobody's painting anymore. So I do think there is more value to that than just a handbag. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. High fashion is something which you buy for the status of it, right? And there is only limited. Yes, you can maybe use a lot of like manual work and also very expensive materials, right? But you do not buy like Hermes or like iPhone or like Porsche or whatever, right? So whatever is very expensive for the sake of the components. You also buy it for the status and for the lifestyle that is being perceived or being projected on you when you buy this kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And for me, cars is not just cars. It's more like how they present the design. And for me, it's like because Porsche, they does such a good job. They stand out for me. So that's why I love the brand. And for me, it's like design is more important than anything because I look at design every day. I want like my car to have a unique design that I can look at it and be happy. Right. So it really, it's like if somebody's buying a painting, if this painting just make them laugh, then $1 million is worth it. If it's like that. They're happy. This creates like emotion values to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So now getting back to your brand, when you make clothing, do you also produce the clothing yourself, or do you make designs and then send it somewhere? Again, to one of the factories, maybe in Vietnam or... No. Our manufacturers are all based in LA. Yeah, so it's made in Los Angeles. Yeah. There is a company that actually offers a pipeline for production in LA. I don't know where they manufacture, if it's actually US based, but they will take your designs and then they will give back a lot of
like manufacturers, they do that, and it's all over the world. It's not like this is like universal. It's not like specified for a country.
Yeah. So okay, that's great, but also it means that probably your stuff isn't cheap.
Of course.
Yeah. So in this case, describe your ideal audience. Like, is it like primarily successful business women, or
Yes, confident, successful business people, and also like people in the art world who are looking for unique pieces, and also even like people who are working in the performing arts industry, and just in general who appreciates designs and they want to have clothes for occasions. Yeah. So like, of course, you wear a different dress to a cocktail party than to a banquet.
Yep.
So it's just like we're trying to create more lifestyle moments for people so they can pick the right one. So it's kind of like you can think of this like you have a selection of glasses and you drink your champagne with one design, and then you drink your whiskey with another one.
Whiskey is like, the
one.
Yeah.
So like, why are people drinking different alcohol and wine using different design of glasses? There is a reason.
That's
it
a
makes it
wonderful
better.
question, but I think the answer is, well, obviously aesthetics, but the shape of the glass helps with perception of the drink. For example, whiskey not just has the taste but also the smell, the flavor, and also the fragrance of it. And when you drink something, and this also applies to food, we think about the taste and the ability to smell as two separate like senses. In reality, though, a lot of nerves are interconnected, and a lot of cells that perceive the taste are also in your
exactly
in your nose, and the other way around. So in reality, it's just two sides of the very same sense. So when you drink without your nose, like try it, try to close your nose and drink something. You will just only feel the half of it, and you're like, this is something else. This is not what I'm used to. The shape of the glass helps you. That's why the shape, say, of the wine glass, and depending on what kind of wine, it can be again taller or wider and so on. You need different shapes of glass for different kind of wines to help achieve specific taste. Okay, so this is
exactly. It's the same thing. Like for occasions, clothing, they are functional. In a certain way, and also aesthetics, right? So, and also there is a big part of pleasing yourself. Like, I want to be like feeling good in that moment and at a certain location, doing a certain event, and I want to just add on to that, to people's moments, and they can just live like fully happy in that moment wearing this clothes, which is perfectly curated for a certain event or like a certain person, so they can like echo back to the design. So I think that's the point of having my collections. So it's a lifestyle. That's why we're adding like home goods, personal care, and fragrance, because I want to create this little empire where not only fashion, of course, with fashion being the main focus, but I want to create a holistic lifestyle brand, and fashion being a big part of it. And this can bring people a certain lifestyle, they want it, and also it's kind of like all the luxury brands they are doing. So they want to convey an idea through a certain lifestyle.
Brands lead more with the lifestyle than with the value. The more niche they are, and the more, I would say, eccentric or exclusive their audience is. Trunk sales, or like, maybe like events, booths and everything, do they bring in enough revenue for you?
More like online, and also some customized piece for private clients.
Okay, so now when you sell online, how do you make sure that the fitting is proper?
We actually provide a private fitting. So it's like a private fashion consulting session through email. So we would take their measurements. Of course, this is for ready-to-wear collection. So we would, because we're still at an early age of building our community, so we want our customers to feel comfortable with the fitting. So we would do a consulting session with them. Either it's through email or through phone, and to get their fittings and then recommend the perfect size. And of course, private clients, we just go to them and do the fitting. Yeah.
Would you do like alterations?
Yes.
Yeah, so this all compounds to, all takes away from the margin, right? And that's why it makes sense to buy something. You can buy, like a dress or a shirt for like $50 or for $500, right? But you're going to get different experience from the buying process. If there is budget to do like custom fitting,
and we also make the customized fitting fun, and we make it an event.
Yep.
It's a private event, and we we have our own wine brand, and we would bring it and do like a fitting and a private wine tasting together.
Nice.
So like whatever they want, like if they want to do it like more private, we will just do like more classy, and we will do wine tasting pair with like the fashion fitting. So it's like a whole event for them. And if they want to do something more fun, we have other ways to make a more fun, to like make a event inviting a lot of the friends from probably our clients community or our community. So it really, there are tons of ways to do the in-person fitting and event. Yeah.
And I guess you have locations in a bunch of different cities, right?
Yes.
What to do if I live somewhere like in Wichita, Kansas, right? So in the middle of nowhere, right? And
then they can buy through online and do the online consulting session. Yep.
And then if the customer doesn't like something, then they can always just return, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
But like with the alternation, of course,
beautiful.
You can't really. If this piece is already altered for you, then of course you can't return. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Cool. 2 hours, 3 minutes. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Nothing.
That was...
Yeah, let's close. Pyper Cali, watch her. She's a rock star in the fashion world, not just my grandma's favorite fashion designer. And there are lots of new things. So as you mentioned, there will be a fashion show in Boston, July 20th.
Yeah.
Where people can find you, I guess your social media,
my IG,
your website as well. What would be the advice you can give to up and coming designers? So somebody who has a dream. Again, they are afraid of not trying what they wanted to try when it's time for them to go away. So what would be your advice to somebody who is just in the very beginning, just in the phase of just coming up with their vision and just trying to get together themselves and taking this leap towards something they've never done before?
That would be always have a good balance for the fun part and the real world, which is your creativity and the business part of fashion. You need to have a good balance of that and think of both sides and make it work, at least sustainable, to continue pursuing what you want to pursue. And also, our younger generations, we don't stick on one thing. If you have enough resource, well, you can hire people to do it, or you can find another way to do it. You don't need to do everything yourself, but you can step into different industries and find other ways to support you. And you don't need to just be like, oh, I'm the starving poor artist. You don't need to do that. Modern society, there are millions of ways to make money. Just be creative on that too. And sometimes, it's not even about, I'm doing a lot of hard work, so I make a certain amount of money. You need to know the right information, know the right resource. Just be smart. And
just be smart and successful. Super easy.
Just be smart about the the way of choosing what type of career, and also what type of things you're going to spend your time on. That's really because your time is limited, right? So just always think about how to balance your dream and the real world and find a way to make it work. Yeah.
Do you take interns by chance, or are you providing any kind of mentorship?
Right now, the positions are full, but we might open more down the road. But with my time, majority of my time spending in Europe next year, so I'm thinking it's harder to get positions open up here in the US, but we will see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next year is going to be a big year for my brand to really focus on creation and design. This year is more like starting, building reputation, taking some advice, getting some clients. But next year, it really is a year of creativity and designing. And I'm going to dig deeper into it. So yeah, it's going to be like ever changing each year. Yeah.
So we're going to see more collections from your brand.
For sure.
Maison Cali.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, this was Sublime Podcasts. Follow us. The best thing you can do to support our content is to engage with us on the social media. I'm also going to watch you and see how you're going to progress and grow over the years. And
exactly. This is fun. Yeah.
I do want you to grow to all the brands that you mentioned and you're looking up to. Well, you know, I'll try to support you in the way I can do through my content and marketing. And let's see where we're going to end up growing together. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. And and I wish you all the best and all the success.
Yeah.
Doing your content on social media, and I will give you all the support I can give you. And and we can discover more talent together, either like they're from the industry or they're from other industries. Yeah, that would be amazing. And I always love people who are working in the creative industry.
Yeah, and I'm taking you up on this word by like this weekend. You are one of the 3 designers, and the other one is Sun Young An, or Chloe. She goes by Chloe, and she has her new collection called Avenir Dress. And then another friend of mine, Megan, the Neon Tiger. So there will be a video coming out about those collections on this very same channel. So guys, stay tuned. Cheers.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. See you next time.